There we go. So I'm recording and then I'll upload it. So welcome to the weekly Create Source Code meeting. And we were just discussing that since we don't have high attendance, we'll skip the one slider, or not skip, we'll postpone the one slider from Sean for next week, right?
Perfect, no problem.
Awesome. So we can discuss the first point on Daniel, thoughts on capacity for transient bugs. So are you aware of the effort, what this means, Sean and Mike?
I am not, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If you have some background, that would be great.
I do. So in the OKRs for the department, and actually this comes from the very highest OKRs, I think it's even on Sid's OKRs. It's something that is coming out of the recent months of like having a bunch of reports of situations in the merge request in specific where we have these transient bugs or things that happen but doesn't happen all the time, some edge cases, some things happen, they're not easy to test, they're not easy to fix sometimes because they're hard to replicate. So from that conversation became there was formed a working group around transient bugs, and the idea there is that we'll have a company-wide attention to this kind of bugs. So the first step here was to create a bug label. So we have a bug : transient, and that will be a way for us to label the transient bugs that we find. Now, the idea is that this will cover more than just code review area, because transient bugs happen everywhere. But there's an ongoing effort to uncover these first and then fix them. So in the source code domain, there's bound to be transient bugs that might not be identified. So the biggest effort, I think, right now is to identify that kind of work, where they are, what they look like, which areas are affected, and how we need to handle them.
Do we have a label for those specifically?
It's that bug transient. Is that what you mean? The one that I put there on the agenda. I can put actually. See, they might have that on the epic that they linked. No.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, because I looked on the epic, we haven't got them. Okay, cool.
I can't see them actually. I know that we already closed one on the code review side.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, there we go. Bug transient. I'm going to put the link to the issues. That way it's easier to jump to them. And for starters, like we already have transient bugs on secure, release. So there's a bunch of others that go over to other areas as well. But right now, I think we're at this stage, the effort is majorly identifying these. Which is Daniel's question. I think they are just normal bugs. They might just be higher on priority because of this attention, right? But we're still going to have this process of triaging where are they affecting a lot of people? Are they just a very, very edge case? Are they breaking anything? Most of these are causing confusion, especially in the code review, where on the code review side, where we don't know exactly why a merge request can't be merged or something. So those are the most focused ones, what we're focusing the most. But we don't want to make this effort only on code review. We want to make sure that this goes over to other stages. So I feel like at this stage is more about identifying them and then creating issues for these, labeling them properly, and then they'll just follow the regular prioritization and scheduling workflow, not particularly special anything about it. What I do think, and I'm part of the working group as well, I'm a member. One of the things we're discussing, I'm really anxious about, is improving the tooling that we have. So Mac and the quality team is heavily involved there because some of these scenarios are really hard to replicate in local environments. And I've been pushing a little bit, ask a couple of questions to make sure that we have that on the agenda of the working group, is to improve the way we can replicate the scenarios on the local environment. And something like, I don't know, using the factories on the back end to generate a set of specific scenarios on the merge request, like create create a merge request that is blocked by this and that or something. We just run a command, a recipe or something, and it just generates that. That would be amazing. And that's what I'm pushing for. Because that's the first step of the problem is replicating the scenario in local so that we can fix it. And yeah, that will go a long way to improve the situation. But yeah,
because I imagine I can imagine with these ones, we might have to spend more time on actually even identifying what happened, right? Because I mean, all we've really got to work with is logs. If we can't easily replicate it ourselves, then we've got logs, and then from the logs, okay, now we can create a test scenario, and then of course once you've got the test scenario, then I think you're good. But because they also could be, of course, combinations of weird data and things like that as well, which
usually
hard.
Usually is either some race conditions. Like we had one on the one that we fixed actually on the code review. I can share that. Applying suggestions. So the issue was this. Let me share my screen. Make sure that I don't have anything private. The issue was this: applying a suggestion on a merge request does not show spinner on resolved discussion. So what was happening was that when you applied a suggestion, showed the spinner, and then it went back to not having the spinner. And then after a while, it came through the result, right? So the problem that we identified was just because we were having a polling request coming back with a response while it was applying the suggestion, right? So that was the fix. That was the actual fix. So it just goes to show that it's just a very specific scenario that we might not happen in the test scenarios. And we had to go for that specific environment, and it involved like slowing down the requests in the browser to kind of replicate the same scenario. But until we got there, it took a little while to figure that out. And we had other cases where we actually investigated, and we couldn't replicate. After assigning it as a deliverable, we still couldn't replicate it. So it's still the same. And what I like in this transient bug label, and more for you, Mike, is that not all bugs that are classified as transient are bugs in the code. You might be just some user experience gaps that we never covered. So we are looking at connecting the merge request with the sidebar, making sure that those two things are in sync. So if you change the milestone in one place in the comments, it updates the milestone on the sidebar. Those are like weird behaviors that people look at it like, this is not right. But it's a UX gap. It's not really something that we've ever built code to address that. It's just a UX gap. So bear that in mind when you're exploring the product and you find problems like these. I would classify those also as transient bugs.
I mean, the one you just showed, that must have been, very hard to debug, but I guess what the advantage was, there was a video of the problem, right? So that's gold, I guess. But we won't always have that.
Yeah, that's true. Some of the times it's just like a loose, and I think this started as one of those, like a loose, I don't know what's happening, like suggestions are coming back. And in the Is This Known channel, it happens a lot. Like you see a recording of somebody reporting, boom, grab that recording, put it in an issue. Okay. It's already a good start. Yeah, and that's a great source for those bugs. To finding these, because people complain about these things all the time. It would be great if they complained with a tag and they could tag the source code group and we would know immediately, but we'll get there. But yeah, that's kind of like my summary of the transient bugs topic. In terms of capacity for Daniel, then I feel like it's just the normal capacity of bugs. I don't think they will eat away the capacity of the other bugs, because they're like coming through naturally, but we are going to prioritize this probably a bit more than before. I think that's the case. Mm-hmm. We don't have an OKR for this, by the way. So I don't have an OKR for transient bugs on source code. I have one on code review. I don't have one in here, which might make a difference or not, depending on the volume.
Okay. I was going to say, I guess with capacity, there's kind of two ways to look at it. One is that they might take longer to understand and resolve, but but also maybe we also put a cutoff time on them, and like, you know, if it can't be replicated, or then it has, at some point it has to be not closed, but you know, put on the side until some more information can come forward about this particular issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to write down here that in terms of capacity, these will be prioritized normally, and then you said they will excuse me, I'm paraphrasing, but naturally take up more capacity because of harder to test scenarios, but we can time box them.
Exactly. That's perfectly paraphrased. Yep.
Awesome. Just cleaning up my mess. Thanks for the help.
That's
yeah,
right. Thanks for typing it.
That's a good summary for Daniel.
The idea here wouldn't be to actively go seek out new ones, but more find ones that have been identified and raised as problems, and then and tag those as these issues, right?
I don't know.
Actively go try to find these problems.
I think actively trying to find them, because so one of the things that we felt with source code in particular is that since it was part of the now code review domain, we were always a little bit like distracted by the code review, right? So even though we were getting reports on the source code, we weren't dedicating our sole attention to this. So I feel like there might be a lot of gaps of bugs and stuff that we haven't been identified, and we're just looking to improve the experience. So I would say both, Mike, tagging the ones that have been identified and actively looking for them might be useful. Because people are either suffering through those silently, not mentioning it to anyone, or they are just like can't be bothered to open an issue. I don't know, but yeah, actively would be also okay.
Or even as part of that, looking for issues that could be different views of the same thing, because people maybe can't kind of explain very clearly what the problem is. But if they're going to open an issue that's already a problem, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to put that question here too. Like, is it labeling the ones that are already existing or actively pursuing new ones? Let's say both. Both, I'd say. That's summary. Cool. Any more thoughts on this? I think this will come naturally, and I encourage you all to create these issues and label them just with our group labels and the bug transient label that I put there. Yeah. Thanks. Cool. Any more thoughts, points? I actually have one here, but I'll fill it in after the meeting. So mid milestone check-in. So today it's the 50% of the milestone elapsed. And this is the time where we usually take a moment to check how far along we are with the deliverable work. I had a bunch of one-on-ones this morning, so I couldn't finish off this one. I'm going to do this asynchronous right after this call, and I'll put it in the agenda to specify how well we're doing on the front end. And Sean, I think Michelle has that a dashboard.
I'm completely across that, but I think it's a good exercise for me to do. So I'll also do it asynchronously. So
awesome. So we're going to put here Sean Andre async.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also have a question. So in terms of planning for the next cycle, I know we're a bit early, but is this the meeting where this would be done?
Right, that's a great question. I'm glad I have you both on the call. So there should be already 13.7 planning.
Yeah, let me type if you're talking.
Yeah, so there should be already an issue for 13.8 planning. There is. Actually, let me link to it. Where is
Sorry, I haven't got your
it?
accent on your E.
Yeah, and the link, it's that one. So we basically started the conversation on the issue, right? We started the conversation on the issue about having the product tell us what is the direction items, what are the things we're hoping to get scheduled. And then closer to the date, I would say closer to like the 10th of December or something, we'll probably start talking about capacity of the team, giving the product feedback on what's the capacity that the team will have. The reason why we don't do it earlier is because deliverables might play a part on this. The slippages might play a part on the capacity.
Yep.
So if there's a lot of slippage, they will decrease the capacity for new work. That's why we don't do it too early, but we should start having the discussions as soon as we can. Now, one of the things that we're already doing, and this is for Mike, is that Pedro is already scheduling those exercises of the mural. And I think he's targeting at, I can't remember exactly when it was, but he invited me, so I know it's coming soon. December 10th. That's when we're going to be doing the 13.8 prioritization session for the code review side. So it might be interesting. I don't know if you want to continue doing the same thing with Daniel. What's your thoughts there, Mike?
Yeah, Pedro and I spoke about that, and I think he's going to help me do this one since he's got the mural boards and all that set up. Basically hold my hand through this one, and then I'll be able to take over after that one. So yeah, it sounded like, I mean, I guess it's up for discussion if we want to continue doing those, but it sounded like it was a positive thing that we want.
I think it's consensually positive.
Yeah, that was the sense I got. So
yeah,
that was the plan, was for him to hand hold this one, and then I'll take over.
So Sean, are you aware of this exercise that we do, prioritization exercise?
I'm aware it exists.
Right. You haven't attended yet.
But I haven't been to any of them. I don't know when the next one would be.
So all you need to know for now is that Mike will schedule a session for us. He'll give us a link for a mural. And what you need to bring to the meeting is 5 issues that you would like to see scheduled or at least prioritized. And it's not always, so usually the ones that are like engineering based, like tech debt, we don't include, performance, we don't include, because those are, we're going to have to schedule them anyway. But it's kind of like feature improvements, bug fixing, stuff that you feel like it's hurting or you just want to scratch that itch or something. Sometimes like wishful thinking, I would love to see this fixed, or I would love to have this feature built. This is a great moment to bring them up, and you present it to us, the team, and then we score them in terms of importance and feasibility. And then we get the top ones.
And what is the name of that meeting?
What's that meeting called? Prioritization. Yeah, we call it just prioritization.
This would be after the 10th.
It will be around the 10th. So the idea of this meeting is that you will feed into our final scheduling discussions. Not mandatory, and I can actually give you a look, a screen, and a teaser about what that looks like in the end. 13.7 planning. Wait, 13.7? No. 13.7 was, I think, code review. That's what we did. 13.7. Got it. Found it. Let me share my screen. So this is what we did for the code review 13.7. And then Pedro sent us a link somewhere. I think it was on the... Oh, wait.
Oh, so this is done asynchronously mostly.
Not really. So
preparation is async. Yeah.
The preparation. So he will send us the link there. Oh gosh, give me a sec, because I think. Oh, there we go. This is what the session will look like, right? And this is the issue bank.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. This, yeah. So you bring 5 issues. Okay, and we put like each mine, Pedro, Mike, sorry, Sean. We put ours there, including Daniel. Daniel will put his here. We'll go through a bit of the meeting. I think it takes an hour, that we'll go through each one of these, presenting them to the team so that we have a brief understanding of what they are. And then Mike will kick off a voting session, first on importance, and we each select 5 of the ones that we have here. They're usually 20, I think. So we go through those and you vote for 5. You don't have to add scores. You just like, this is important, this is important, this is important, this is important. And then we'll just add them up. And the ones that have more votes of important will rank higher on the importance scale. Then we'll do the same thing for feasibility, and that's the other axis. And then we'll see more or less the ones that are higher here on this quadrant here. And those will be the more important ones, but also feasible. And usually grab those, take a screenshot, that's what I was looking for, and put it on the asynchronous issue for planning. And that will just guide us to the actual scheduling.
Okay. Would you mind linking that to the notes?
Sure. The mural one?
The mural and the issue, just so I can look back at the old one, just in the where we have them under
I couldn't find. I'm not sure if this is the one. I think I'm going to have to go to 13.6.
Oh, it doesn't even matter. Anyone as an example would be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I got one. And the thing is, this is, so let's go there. This is an example 13.6 source code, mural example. I don't know if you have access to this 13.8 code review. So yeah, please don't update that because it's a live one. But it's basically just to give an example. And Mike will come up with another link when he's ready.
Okay, sure. Okay. Yeah, or we can even just screenshot it. But yeah, okay, got it. Yeah.
That's kind of it. And then after that, we usually what we usually do is we go through, after we have all of these, Daniel will compile like a spreadsheet of issues that we would like to consider for scheduling. And then we'll just have to play the chair game, see if they fit or not, the capacity. So we say we have 30 points of capacity left for new work. We have like 50 points of new issues. Just have to postpone them and find a good cap. And that's it. We usually do that synchronously. We do have a session around the 16th of the month where we'll go through the final list and final shortlist, fed by all the feedback that we've gotten from the prioritization session, from the discussions we've had, the issues, and we'll come up with a short list there. What I recommend is having a look earlier at like bugs and issues and technical debt issues that we might want to schedule from our own side of engineering, because you'll need to reserve capacity for those before assigning the ones from product.
Okay.
We usually try to have a healthy mix.
And then slippage also? Or
yes.
Does slippage automatically go to the next cycle, or do they sometimes get prioritized? You're
gonna have. So usually they do. I would say that 98% of the times they go to the next milestone. We've had cases where after one milestone is signed, we noticed that it was far more complex than we expected, and we decided to put it in the back burner, and then we put it in the backlog. I think that happened once, and I've scheduled. I think I've planned like 30 somewhat releases by now. I think that happened once.
Really?
So, yeah, it's very rare. Yeah. So that goes to show that it doesn't happen a lot. So what I usually do, and actually I think the issue that I linked there, the 13.6 source code, you can find a comment that I used to do back then, which explains exactly my thinking process, which I can always, we have 2 minutes, but since we're chatting, this is what my process looks like. First, I look at the capacity of the whole team. I look at what's the slippage. I look at any like tech debt, OKR work that's that, and then I give the sorry. Then I give the weight for availability for new work, right?
Okay.
And you don't have to do this like this. This took a lot of time, and we're kind of like doing this on a sync call right now. But this is basically the thought process. I break it down for clarification.
Yeah, this is great. This is really good.
Yeah. And then out of this 23 points of capacity, we start counting down, which is where things get tricky. So at the time we had 17 points of new features. That leaves us 6 points of capacity. Then in support of SLAs, SLOs, and OKRs, there's a couple of other issues there we wanted to consider that kept us at -5. Then we had shortlist of technical issues to consider. See, I didn't stop there because we will revise this. This is just a draft, right?
Sure. Yep.
So shortlist of technical issues to consider. That was sort of something from, I think, Daniel as well. He suggested these. And then these ones, I think, was mostly me coming up with these, because one of the things I felt in the past milestones is that if we don't leave time for smaller bugs, the product feature work will just trample all of it, right?
Yeah,
and
of course.
we won't be able to clean up the bugs. So I started coming up with this list of smaller issues, so bugs with 2 points of weight, bugs with 1 point of weight, just to have them available, pre-selected. And then out of this whole list, we have a discussion, and we have a discussion with Daniel, and that's where we choose, all right, this goes to the next release, this goes 2 releases down the line. We want to keep this one because it's important. We want to make this one important. You know what I mean? We have a conversation around this to scope, to contextualize them to the direction of the team. Then we just have to make them fit. And then it's sort of a negotiation conversation around, hey, I really need some small bugs for my team, for morale and for throughput.
Or community contributions.
Yeah. So community contributions, mostly they come in through the code review capacity, which we don't really schedule for that, unless we're continuing one that already started and shepherding those. I would put those in here, right? Before I give I give that to product. So my concern is always to give to product the visibility. All right, you have 23 points of weight to play. That's it. And then Daniel will kind of like help with the decisions about what we make the cut or not. Good. I'm going to put the link to this comment in specific so you can come back to this later. Any more questions?
So I guess it's more of a statement that this next cycle will be much reduced, right, because of Christmas and.
Yeah, I'm already asking for the capacity for the PTO days for my team, just to see how many days they're taking. Yeah, I expect it to be a low capacity milestone, so it's supposed to be small-ish kind of stuff. But yeah, it would be good for like an onboarding for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple milestone.
I've also been asking for everyone's. So one team member, he can't really give it to me because he's undecided on that, but the other ones have already put it in, so that's I have that information.
So one of the things that I've asked is give me the number of days. I don't need the exact number of days. Now this milestone is a little different because I want to make sure that we have some overlap on the holiday week. Make sure that we have someone around. But usually I don't ask which days right up front. I just ask how many days in this period. Okay. And that's useful. That's easier for them to come up with. Yeah, I'll take a week. And that's enough.
Sure. Okay.
And they'll just, sometimes they take it all in one batch. Sometimes they take it in small batches multiple times. That's up to them. Cool. Right. It's that time. Anything before we go? Last minute?
That was awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both for coming. And I'll upload this to YouTube and then share the link with Daniel. Okay, I'll put it on the Slack channel, of course.
Thanks, Andre.
Have a good Wednesday.
See you later, Mike.
Bye.
Bye.